find actually the energy in being busy. Not against the divorce, but more of, did you try all the options? I love to see people grow around me. That's very true.
Surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you. This is the core principle of this podcast called Mint O'Clock. I am Abdelaziz Miara, and this is one of my favorite ways to learn, and it is by listening to people's stories, by diving into their hearts, their minds, their souls, if they are willing to share that with me. And even though suffering is universal, choosing to suffer in private often sets us away from the path to healing, and usually from the path that others have taken to heal. And if we look deeper, we'd be amazed at the wealth of experience, of help, and compassion that's available through others. Today's guest is someone that is very special. It is a man that I respect immensely, someone with an incredible heart and one of the most gentle souls I know, the one and only Jaafar Alla.
Thank you for the kind word.
I'm so happy that you're part of this. Let's dive into a lot of topics, but before we start, we have to pour us a cup of tea.
Nice. Doing it right. Yeah, definitely.
So welcome again. And yeah, as I was saying, honestly, man, I'm super happy to have you here. And I feel like people usually develop their empathy or develop this characteristic when they go through pain. And this podcast, as I was saying earlier, is kind of part of my healing journey. And it's kind of me trying to listen to other people's stories, to learn from their experiences. You start talking to other people, you hear that it's not only you that goes through bad stuff, other people do. And they also have their own way of dealing with that pain and evolving through that pain. And suddenly you're not like, I want to stay down, but you're like, other people manage to go through that pain and come out of it with empathy or with strength or with whatever. So it gives you that strength to kind of move on or stand up again. In your case, you went through pain, and if you feel comfortable sharing that with me, then I would be very happy to listen to that.
I'll say the first thing is that we've all have our own coping mechanism with pain, and I think I had different events in my life that actually helps me regulate this coping mechanism. And I think also the learnings from the first event helped me go through the second, the third, etc. Okay, I'm teasing you, enough teasing. So yeah, the first thing is that I didn't have really that regular, simple, happy childhood. I lost my dad in the age of 5, and it was hard for me because I didn't understand it. But then again, it actually turned into kind of violence and a lot of trouble, because I wasn't understanding, and I was actually, expressing this misunderstanding by the way I could divest at that age. I was a difficult child. I also had a lot of issues in the school because I was violent with some children. But right now, with a lot of, when I look back at it, I was like, I was actually jealous of all these children that actually had fathers that just, afterwards they just come and pick them from the school. And I was kind of triggered by that, and I didn't understand it at that age. And when the time goes on, then I discovered I was kind of different from the other children, because I had ADHD. I didn't understand it at the time. I had I had trouble reading, writing as well, and I was kind of different in the way, actually, I think I was very creative. I didn't understand the concept of having a class and sitting for 2, 3, 4 hours. So I was kind of not very comfortable in, the school system. So it was difficult for me as well, because I had a lot of remarks within the school, at home. These little things as a child, they have a big impact on your personality and how you're feeling at that moment. So I felt, again, not understood at school, at home. It was difficult, right? Enough about childhood. I had a lot of challenges, to not give you all the details. For that, we will need like a whole day. But so after I went to school in Morocco and then came to France, my first year here, so I just did 1 semester, and I came to Paris. I was in Dijon, and I came to Paris for my internship. my summer internship. First day of internship, I didn't feel well. I feel like weird. We were talking about energy. I'm a person that always had that much energy, etc. But it was different. I was feeling very weak. Yeah, it was weird. So I went to the doctors and then, trying to find out what's happening. I was like, maybe I'm missing some vitamins or something, right? But it went really fast from maybe I just need a day or two off to you're having cancer. Yeah. And it was difficult for me to hear that, in a sense that when you never been to the hospital before and you never had any health issues, like boom, you're out. I was very I mean, I don't know where I found strength at that point. I think it's because I was kind of alone and I knew my family back in Morocco couldn't join me at that moment. So I was like, I needed to be strong for them. So I was like, everything happens for a reason. So if I have this, it's for a reason. And it was a big learning for me to go from Jafar, the enthusiast, the person with endless energy, to that person just, sitting around in the hospital after my operation and just couldn't go to the toilet by myself. So it was like a big, big moment of reflection. And I think that's the difference in terms of mindset. A lot of people will just look at it as a bad moment in their lives, and I've looked at it as a big learning that actually nothing is actually forever. So you could have your health today and not have it tomorrow, so you need to make the most of life before. So yeah, that was one of the biggest learnings. And then again, I'm not giving you all the details afterwards. I'm just sharing key pain moments of my life.
I want to go back on something that you said that to me is very...
May I take another cup of tea?
Of course.
I love this sound. We cheated before.
Oh, it's never cheating. If it's a burger, it's fine. There are vegetables in that. Right?
What? What vegetables? The fries, you mean?
The fries.
Wow, healthy.
What I wanted to say is, and it's something that, well, I didn't know before. You talked about the fact that after you lost your dad, you became this troubled child that was difficult to deal with, as you say it. But I know that today you are a big family guy. You love your mom more than anything. You love your brothers more than anything. And as you know, family is important to me as well. Your mom is a big hero of yours. So for you to say that you are now conscious of the hard times that she went through, would you say that your relationship with your family now, and as strong as it is now, is also because of those events and because you had to go through that together as a family that made you what you are today?
I think that family is actually a big part of my healing. As I told you, for example, when I heard that I have cancer, the first thing was that I need to be strong for them, not for me. So I think the fact that you have people that you care about give you more power and give you more purpose. And I forgot the first question. Sorry.
I was saying that, would you consider that your relationship with your family today is thanks to what you had to go through as a child?
Sorry, ADHD. I guess that the journey you have with people, family or not, is very decisive or the kind of relationship you'll have with that person, right? But then again, the relationship with family is different. You're more in an acceptance way of relationship. And after you go to the hospital, like your life is in danger, you remember that love is actually something that you should give and not be ashamed of giving. So I think I became much more loving, to be honest, after this event. But yeah, I think everything that happened to us during our lifetime is for a good reason. It's always for a good reason. It could be seen differently, but then again, as I said, it depends on the mindset. So if you see any event, actually positive or bad, as opportunity to grow and evolve, then you're in the right direction. But if you just take it as, a bad period or something that you don't want to talk about, then maybe it's actually not, it didn't give you that impact it should have.
If you hold grudges towards people, you're holding yourself back kind of in a certain way. That means you're giving them control over your emotions. You're letting yourself be prisoner of that grudge rather than just move on with your life and do whatever you want to do with it. And as you said, become a more loving person, which is, how like this is a very important point to me as well. I mean, one of my biggest fears is just having like one day going away or dying and not saying it enough to the people that I actually love,
Yeah.
because of some kind of pride or some kind of whatever you want to call it. But you want to make, or I, at least for myself, I like to make sure that people who are important to me know that they are important to me, and then they can do whatever they want to do with that, whether they use it to hurt you or they actually acknowledge the fact that it's an important relationship and they take care of it. Then again, you give them that information, you let them do with it whatever they want to do, and then you just trust yourself that you can handle whatever that reaction may be. Whether that should be cutting them off from your life because they mishandled that trust that you had in them.
That vulnerability as well. Yeah, you're very right, because you actually have to care about what you can control, and sharing emotions, secret feelings with people is actually showing also vulnerability and trusting people with something. And depending on what they do with it, then you're gonna react. And I think life will show you, and maybe already showed you, that you just need to focus on yourself. And if people decide to be bad, then it's on them, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not up to you to control how they will
Indeed, yeah.
they will behave. I mean, you can, it's something we talk about a lot, but you will never be able to change anyone. People will never change for you. They will change for themselves. And it's not your job to do so. As you said, your job is to focus on yourself. If you see that this is good for you and this is the right path to take, then that's the only thing you have control over. You'll never be able to control someone else. They can maybe show a certain aspect of themselves to you just to please you in the moment, but on the long run, they can't hold that face for too long. So yeah, the only thing you can do is just be yourself and
cut them off.
I mean, yes, it's okay. Yes, it's not always the easiest thing to do, though. I mean, cut them off is something that, again, you're gonna hear a lot, and a lot of people are gonna tell you to do that. And
No, I mean, it's the, sorry to interrupt, but it's kind of the right solution if you're not being treated the way you should.
Of course.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm not saying, if someone did something wrong, then cut them off, right? It's more of assessing the situation, right? There are some mistakes, issues, problems that could happen that you could deal with that are not that much of a big deal, but some big deals, you need to actually cut people off. And it's difficult, right? And I think I've learned it also the hard way when you've been deceived as well. Because when you're a kind person, you're so much deceived as well. So you go through friendship, relationships, etc. And you just get a lot of deceptions. And then you start having this more easiness to cut off people because you know your value when you're in a relationship. Could be any kind of relationship. But then again, it's much more complicated and difficult when it's a romantic relationship. When you add love to it and you add sharing more intimate stuff with your person, it becomes more complicated naturally. But yeah, well, that's actually one of the pains that I didn't talk about before, but I just got divorced recently, and was like kind of, let's say, my bigger lesson. I mean, a lot of people would say, yeah, maybe you've learned more around the events such as the cancer. But I think I've been hurt within this situation much more than the health situation, let's say. It was kind of rational decision, right? It's much more difficult because there wasn't really any specific reasons to that, but just simple logic around it. As we got married very young, we evolved to be two different people, and we stopped actually sharing the same life vision. So naturally, we decided to end it because we don't see each other in the same place, and in the same position, in the same way of seeing life. And it was much more difficult, to be honest. And it was very humbling, and as well, big learning for me as well.
For you to say that it was difficult to take that decision, but you went through it and you came out of it positively, and as you said, it was a logical decision from your part, both of you. But as you said, that's also the worst or hardest thing to do, because when your heart is not feeling what your mind thinks, that contradiction between your heart and your brain is not something that is easy to go through and move past. And sometimes it can take a month, sometimes it can take a year for those two to kind of see eye to eye in a way.
It's not that much true. There is a big connection between the heart and the mind. The thing is that it could be some contradiction at first, but with time, they start to align. And that's why it's actually not very, let's say, not best practice when things are wrong, are going into the wrong direction, and you know it consciously, but you keep it that way because even if the heart is actually saying otherwise, with time, the heart will also switch. Because basically, at a certain point, when there is no alignment, then it's not you and me, it's you versus me, and then it becomes toxic, and then it changes actually the way you feel about the person. So yeah, I think there is a big relationship and a big correlation between the mind and how the heart is feeling. But again, it's much more difficult when you do it in an early stage, which is healthier because you're not going to wait until it become toxic. So you're doing it actually at the right moment, but it could be much more difficult for you to do it that way. I think, well, the learnings are varies a lot. I learned a lot of things. Actually, much more of the learnings are about myself. So the first is that I never knew myself from an angle of a husband, right? So I've never been a husband before. So it was actually pretty insightful, let's say, to know yourself with that hat of a husband. So how you act as a husband, how you are loving, etc. You learn much more about your love language as well. A lot of things that you didn't know before, things that annoy you, things that you like, etc. So that was the first learning, right? And the second is that you basically start to understand what are the things that are important for you. And yeah, you just realize, well, with time and after kind of a divorce, you just start to be more clear on what you are looking for and what are the things that are much more important for you and the things that you can tolerate. And basically, it was one of the biggest challenges I had. So you learn as well to cope with that and not to be afraid to get out from your comfort zone and just, if you think it's not going to work out with that person, you should be able to let it go. And when you do it from, a marriage, which is a divorce, which is much more bigger than just a breakup, it's a big lesson. You learn, you mature very much after that. And one of the biggest learnings that I could share with you is that love is actually a decision. It's much more about actions than just saying it out loud. So I think that people should do the effort in order to keep the relationship actually living. And I always give that example. I think I've told you that before, but if you want to have a nice body and being a fit boy, just go to the gym and hit the gym. And more about consistency, like saying I need to go to the gym, I need to run once or twice. If you say I want to have a successful company, I'll launch a business, you'll go, I need to work hard, I need to sacrifice. But then again, when we think about relationships, we just want it to work without doing effort. And we're always waiting for the other person to do the effort. And it's always about them and it's not about us. Yeah, but this is a very bad way we're doing it. And I think it's very universal. A lot of people just, that are not consciously aware of that. They just think that it should actually naturally work because the feelings are there. But the feelings are there for the first years. Afterwards, it's actually kind of a comfort zone, right? So that person that you are fully in love with, you were crazy in love about, you've seen that same person every day for 3 years. It's not really that wow effect, but you could keep it if you do the effort. You could keep it because that's what actually will go through the years.
A word that you said that is very spot on is when you said that we just expect things to work because we love each other. We somehow have to kind of magically, as a puzzle, fall into place. And it's a romantic and beautiful view to kind of think that there's a soulmate out there that you are gonna meet and it's just gonna click and everything is gonna be perfect. And in a way, I believe in that, where with the right person it feels, or it is easier than with the wrong person. And it doesn't mean that there's no effort from both people. It just means that I would not call it effort if it's the right person. In a way that you would do it naturally, like what you do naturally is considered an effort, quote unquote, by the other person, or at least makes the other person happy, and vice versa. In a way, if you consider it to be an effort, like you have to go out of your way to do something, then it becomes like a chore, then you're not doing it naturally, then also with time you wouldn't be able to do it consistently. For example, as you were discussing earlier, for you it's natural to tell the people around you that you love them.
Right.
So if you match with someone that, for example, has as a love language words of affirmation, that needs to hear that love from their partner, and you subsequently just say it naturally and normally, and it's not an effort for you to say it, then it just matches. You kind of feel or fulfill that part of them or that need in them without it being too much of an effort for you.
Yeah, I got your point, and you're totally right. You're talking about compatibility, which is right, which is important basically, because the effort, I know you don't like this word, but the effort won't be that effort, right? It will be much more easier because you get along with that person. But then again, let's not say effort, let's say gestures, let's say, and if you stop doing them, then it's not gonna work. No, it's like you stop doing sports and you say, oh my God, why am I, why am I fat? Why am I gaining? So yeah, it's the same. It's that you shouldn't stop actually working on the relationship. And that's actually, I think, problematic nowadays because of the movies, because of the series, because of the social media, where have this ideal about relationships. It's more about love and hugs and kisses and traveling around and laughing, etc. But it's not only that. It's going through problems. It's also learning how to fight. It's also around the fact that sometimes you will have your down moments and you need the person you're with to understand that and to give you the space, and also to understand if you need space or if you need them around. Sometimes, yeah, some people, you could be with an avoidant person, and when you're not in a good place, you need someone around. You need more of their comfort, their words, but they're avoidant, so they will give you space because this is what they want. So when they project their personality on you, so they give you what they actually need, but they didn't think about what you actually need. So that's actually the whole difference. We could be different. I think that there isn't any couple on earth that actually are alike. So we're all different. And as one of my all teachers said, that every one of us is a universe. And if that person just projects their personality and the way of coping onto you, they won't give you what you need. And that's why communication is very key in a relationship. Instead of naturally giving you space because I can see that you're not doing well, I should have just asked you, what do you need from me? I see that you're in a bad place. What do you need? Do you need space? I'll give it to you. Do you need me around? Do you need to travel? Do you need to be with your friends? So that's the way of looking at it.
I completely agree with you on what you just said. The other side of it is that not everyone has the maturity to has reached that level where they can have those conversations. I'm the kind of guy who would come during a relationship and kind of have or try to have a conversation around what's going well, what's not going well, what we can do better or whatever.
But then again, you're a debater, so
yeah, that's part of I mean, yeah, I am a debater, so it's part of who I am. I feel like people don't take their relationships or the concept of a relationship too seriously. We had this discussion a while back, but when you think about it, you're alone and you try to learn about yourself. And as you were saying, you keep learning about yourself until you reach a point where you can look back and understand who you are. And the more experiences you have, the more understanding of who you are you get. But then you decide at some point that you want more from life. So you want a companionship, you want to create a partnership with someone, you want to make your life more than just about yourself. And that's when you take the decision to be with someone. Then people don't have in my opinion at least, don't take that as seriously as they should, because they are effectively bringing another life, another person, as you said, another universe into their own universe, into their own life.
Yeah, a lot of interesting facts you've spoke about. First, about having those difficult conversations. Communication is key, but then again, it takes a lot of maturity and a lot of strength to have those serious conversations. And a lot of relationships fail because either one or both of partners are not mature enough to have those difficult conversations in a respectful way, right? Basically, start talking about the elephant in the room, right? And stop just, ignoring and praying that it's gonna be better afterwards. It won't work. The second thing you've talked about, which is very interesting, is the fact that you bring another person onto your life. And I think it's also a problem with our generation, is that we are in a fast food era, so fast relationships as well. So we are in the nexting mindset, right? So we feel like, which actually is an illusion, because we feel like we have a lot of choice because of social media. But then again, when you find that person that actually cares about you and that you love so much, but you still have in your mind, you keep it in a, in a space in your mind that you actually have options, then you're not in let's repair it mindset. You're like in the next. People, as you said, need to be more engaged in a relationship because it's real and it's actually playing with other person's feelings. And sometimes a lot of people, they underlook the impact that their behavior could have on that person. Some of the breakups could be very difficult, could be very impactful in someone's life. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have in our generation. Is more of people go into relationships whilst they're not really ready to go into a relationship, because we have this idea about your half, but there is no half. You should be a whole. You should be 100%. You should be a whole person, complete person, in order to get into a relationship with another complete person. If you're a half and you're looking for your half, then you're just actually looking for someone to complete you. So you're getting with that person for the wrong reasons. It's kind of more of a win-win relationship than a genuine relationship, right? I'm not saying you need to figure out everything about yourself and about your life, but you need to work on yourself, on your traumas, on all the little issues that you could have. And you should always ask about the why. A lot of people don't do that. They just start falling in love with that person, but they don't really ask themselves why I'm starting to develop feelings, because mind and feelings, they work in a way that there is always triggers. So you need to identify if it's actually genuine, or you're just in a bad place at that moment and you want to fill a void, or you just went through a breakup and it's very fresh and you just need to replace that person. The idea is that we need more therapy. We need to go more to therapy. We need to read more, and we need more time for ourselves.
That sentence is very powerful to me. We need more time to ourselves, and it's both an interesting concept but a scary one as well. And when you say that people get into relationships for the wrong reasons and we need to be whole, one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, one of the scariest, is people are afraid to be alone, because at the end of the day, we are, again, as we were saying, a generation that doesn't always know how to handle that, because we're constantly stimulated. Our brains are constantly bombarded with a lot of things. So when you are truly alone without any distraction and you close on yourself for like an hour or 2 hours, and you actually have to think,
no internet, no cell phone.
And for the first time, your brain now is bored and has to think instead of just consume. Once you go through it, you understand that at the end of it or out of it, you feel better. But before you take that leap of, let me be alone, let me see what it does to me, and let me put the focus back on myself. It's something that we were discussing as well last time. Like when you are with someone, your focus starts to be divided between yourself and that other person, because they start to become a priority in your life. And now that they are no longer with you, or after a breakup, you have to take back that control and put that emphasis and that focus back on yourself.
Right.
Whether that's the smallest gestures. For example, couples have date nights every week, and now suddenly you're no longer in a relationship and that night is free, or you don't have anything to do during that day or whatever, and you don't know what to do because now you're alone and you have a void and you want to...
That void triggers you.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the solutions could be just put that focus back on yourself. If you actually had a date night with that person, then do a date night either with yourself, or if you can't do that, then find something else that brings you joy. Like replace those with things that actually puts you at the center of your world again. And that way you, as you said, you become whole.
Yeah.
Whether that's going to the cinema or whatever, but just focus. I know that the word focus on yourself is repeated and thrown to everyone.
Easy.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. But yeah, it's truly that, with from the smallest gesture to the biggest ones. The same way you loved that other person and you were thinking every day of ways to show them that you loved them, instead of saying, I'm going to buy a gift for that person, I'm going to buy flowers for that person, then change that to, I'm going to buy flowers for myself. If you like flowers, or if you like Legos, go buy Legos. For whatever it is, go do something that makes you happy. And then slowly you're going to develop that relationship with yourself, and you're going to become whole in a sense, because now you know yourself better, you know what you like. And as you were saying, after your relationship or your divorce, you learned what you liked, you learned who you were, and so now you have a better relationship with yourself.
I think that, well, if I may, share with you my journey around my post-divorce adventure. First, it's difficult, right? Depression and anxiety, especially when you basically kind of projected all your future plans with that person, then it's scary, right? And then comes a period when you no longer live with these feelings because you basically went through them, and that you just realizing that this is your new reality. And afterwards, you feel the loneliness because now you're not with your feelings, you're with yourself. And you start having all these doubts around yourself, around the fact that you're going to be in a good place with you, yourself, and you, right? Or are you gonna find another person? Are you worth it? Blah blah blah. Because you feel like somehow you failed, and it's all about what you're gonna do about it. So you're very very right about the fact that you need to find ways to fill that void in a productive, value added way. And I may add to that you need to challenge yourself around all the doubts that you could have. So what I did, for instance, is that, well, I went to therapy. That's for one. And two, I was like, why am I so afraid of being alone? And could I be happy alone? And I challenged myself around that. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna travel alone for 3 weeks, and I'm gonna go to a destination that I wanted to go to from my childhood, from what I remember. And it's actually going out of my comfort zone, because basically the whole situation was me getting out of my comfort zone. So the divorce puts me out of comfort zone, so I needed to challenge myself. So I did actually a road trip in the US, and it was one of the most nurturing, insightful experiences. I actually met a lot of people, and basically I've learned a lot about myself, and it was as well a period of reflection, also time with myself, and try to understand what I'm feeling, etc. And also learning from others. And that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is that you go to another different universe. I say, like, the US is quite different from here, and you meet different people from different backgrounds, from different origins, and you just have genuine conversations, and you could share with them your story. They could share with you their stories, and just learn actually from these stories. And you just also realize that you're not alone, that there is worse, etc., etc. And yeah, so these are like the kind of ways of coping with these kind of situations, is that basically just challenge yourself more. Like, if you're afraid of being alone, challenge yourself to be alone. If you're afraid of going out of your comfort zone, go out of your comfort zone. So it's always around more of challenging yourself about your fears.
I understand that idea of challenging yourself, and I agree. I mean, truly confident person is the person that can jump into the unknown and be sure that they're gonna come out of it untouched or unharmed. It feels like it joins what you're saying, where you're saying just jump into the unknown. But not everyone can do that. And that's why it's hard for people to. Sometimes people
Right.
can stay in relationships or in whatever situation they are actually being unhappy in for so long that it becomes their more normal way of living. And
Yeah.
because it's hard, otherwise everyone would be healthy and happy and healed.
Yeah.
For you, in your case, you you took that decision, and not only did you take the decision to go through the divorce, but you also then stood up and took the decision to challenge yourself, as you say, and go into that unknown of being alone, and now you're out of it and you're happy about the outcome of that. But for someone that is paralyzed by that fear of the unknown, what would you tell them to make that jump?
They should do as I did, in a sense that I didn't go to the unknown in a life-changing area, right? I went to the unknown in a fun way. It's a road trip. It's actually, I'm traveling. It's a days off. It's vacation. So I used something that is around pleasure and is around resting and is around fun and excitement. And I just decided to not go, for example, to Morocco for a vacation because it's actually my home country and I know everyone in there, or go to a European country because I speak the language and etc., or go to a place I've been before, or just go not that far, right? But then again, I just took that same event and I added more spices to it. And I was like, I'm gonna use these days off and this road trip to challenge myself. So I did that, and it was much more challenging because I was actually within that road trip, I was challenging myself. So I go into kind of comfort zone in LA, let's say, but then again 2-3 days afterwards I decide to go to Miami, so I'm gonna start over, make new friends, etc., etc. So yeah, it's basically just take something that is more fun, that is not life-changing, right? It's not like, I'm not telling you resign. This could have a big impact in your life and should be more of a thoughtful decision. But I'm saying that you could use those tricky moments that are very fun, excitement, etc., but change the decision around them in order to challenge yourself. Could be around people. For example, I think a lot of people have their social circle, their friends, etc. But sometimes you could help yourself going out of your comfort zone, just to changing the places you're going and meeting new people. It's not that a big deal. I know it's easy said than done, but then again, as you said, we would be all successful, healthy and everything if everyone was capable of going out of comfort zone. But I'm telling you, it's where everything happens. It's like out of the comfort zone that actually the magic, it sounds cheesy and it sounds like every other podcast and every other influencer and every other guru, right, out there. But it's true. It's actually true because our primitive brain, our animal brain, will always restrain us because they want to protect us. It's a very smart brain because it's helped the humanity to go on. So they will always tell you not to take risks. They will always tell you that it's very difficult. They will always have this lazy mindset because they want you to preserve your energy if any danger comes afterwards. So they don't want you to waste your energy on anything, right? But the problem with this primitive brain is that we no longer live in caves. We no longer have dangerous animals. So we live in a world where it's much more safe, let's say. So that primitive mind will actually limit you when it's not relevant. So it will limit you in your professional life, saying that it's too difficult, it's not for you, you don't have the skills for it. So we need to be much more smart and challenge this mind and try to have more control. Again, it's not easy. I'm not saying it could be more intuitive for some people.
I feel like we've been talking for 2 hours and it's soon to be like 1 a.m. or something like that. So one final thing, and it's actually the final thing. I was thinking initially of what could be something that I would end up the podcasts with, like a theme that can be recurrent in the different episodes.
Right.
And like usually people have, I don't know, 3 questions to whatever to end the podcast. But I was thinking of maybe going a different route, and I don't know if it's gonna work or not. So if you don't see it in the final edit, then too bad it didn't work and I just cut it off. But if it works, then good. I'm a big believer in manifestation and visualizing the future that you want to have to achieve it.
Right.
So my suggestion now is to go through a visualization exercise with you.
Okay.
A quick one. And I want you to close your eyes and I want you to describe to me what you're gonna imagine or see. So imagine yourself walking towards a big mirror. You can see yourself in that mirror, right? That mirror is a reflection of your future.
Right. I'm wearing a suit. I think it's Bordeaux.
What is surrounding you in that scene?
Nothing.
Nothing.
White.
Only white.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to picture your ideal future in that white space. What would you put there? Who would you be next to?
Wow. That's a big question. I mean, there could be there like my mother, my brothers, I don't know, my future wife. Or we're in a big villa.
Okay.
I like it.
What's the decoration? Is it modern? Is it old?
It's how I like it. It's more of a sober, clean, modern design.
Okay. Now I want you to take your hand and put your hand to the mirror. And now you are touching your future self.
Okay.
And I want you to push and you are entering the mirror.
Okay.
So I want you to feel how that person would feel in that moment. Can you describe the feeling to me?
Happy, fulfilled, proud.
Okay. I want you to hug that person and I want you to tell that person you love him.
Okay.
And that you love the people that are around you. And when you feel comfortable, I want you to open your eyes and keep that feeling with you for a few moments.
Ooh, back to reality. I'm gonna be in a villa. I don't know where. There were actually a swimming pool.
You didn't talk about the swim.
Yeah, I forgot to mention.
Well, thank you everyone for watching this week's episode. I was very, very happy to share this talk with this very incredible person that I have with me here.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story with me, for taking the time to come here. And I will tell you how much I appreciate you as a human being and as a friend and as someone that is now getting back into my life. And I really love you, man. You are someone that deserves the best. And I'm sure you're going to have a great, great future.
I love you, man. I love you too. And I love your energy.
Ciao. Bye. Cut. Fuck.
Oh, you did it. Now we're even.
Yeah.